In May 2025, the Rotary Club of Sunrise, Florida, co-hosted with the LifePoint Church a community health seminar. The LifePoint Church co-hosted this event because to them, this is the ministry. It's a core belief of the Judeo-Christian tradition is that we should love our neighbors as ourselves, even those neighbors who are different from us, even those neighbors who are difficult to love. The LifePoint Church is a welcoming church, open to everyone in the community. LifePoint Church also has a homeless ministry, and they distribute food for the poor and homeless each week. Some of the homeless experience mental illness, including dementia and schizophrenia, and can indeed be very difficult to love. And my interest in dementia patients began when I volunteered to serve as a treasurer for my over 55 condominium association. I intervened to halt the foreclosure of a destitute owner suffering from advanced Alzheimer's disease, so he could be assigned a guardian by the court so he would not be quickly and cruelly thrown out on the street, but could be placed in an acceptable and humane lockdown facility for Alzheimer's patients before his condominium was put up for sale. And I was accused of not being a team player for these actions, and I was asked to resign. And our attorney sent a letter to all of our 1,500 owners saying I was placing the association in legal jeopardy. But I want to emphasize that I was later reappointed treasurer, and now my community is a partner in these discussions. And I did a short talk also in this presentation on these topics, but this was basically a summary of my current YouTube videos on this topic. And the Alzheimer's Association has a half a dozen presentations for their speakers, and their talk, April 2024 Aging Gracefully Seminar, was not identical to this talk, so we recommend that you listen to both of them.
Well, first I want to say thank you to Bruce and the Rotary of Sunrise for inviting the Alzheimer's Association to speak today. We truly appreciate it. One of the biggest things we try to do is bring awareness, communicate with everyone what we do at the organization, know that there's a resource in our community in Broward County. So I'm excited to share more information with you. I do want to also say that it was mentioned earlier that the Rotary is a really great partner with the Alzheimer's Association, not just in Broward County, but nationwide. We have 600 walk events, so imagine we have all these various Rotaries across the nation engage with the walk and really bringing that awareness and support to us. So thank you to all Rotary members that are in the house today. We really appreciate your support. So I'm here to just go through really quick who we are as an organization, the impact of Alzheimer's in our community, share some resources, and then if you have any questions, we have a table in the hallway. Our wonderful Terry and Molly are here too to provide some information. So we're more than happy to address any questions afterwards. Unfortunately, Alzheimer's has a big impact in our community. Personally, with my family, my grandfather had dementia, so I know what families are going through. Last year, we shared that there are 6 million people that are being affected by Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, the number has increased, and now we're saying 7 million people. What that means is that more people every day are getting diagnosed, and that means more families are being affected by Alzheimer's. And that's why we're here, right? And you can be a part of, one, bringing awareness and making sure that we get the information out to people so that we can help families navigate through this. So that's really the most important stat for me right now is the fact that last year we were saying 6 million, and this year we're at 7 million. That is an alarming number to me. So the goal is for us to not see these numbers increase year after year. So the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is very simple. Our goal is to end Alzheimer's, right? We are going to invest in research. We are going to help families navigate through this. But the end goal is to end Alzheimer's. That's what we want to do. So when we talk about dementia, I look at it as dementia is an umbrella, and then you have all these diseases associated with it underneath it. So Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. So we have vascular, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, which most people are probably familiar with right now because of Bruce Willis, because that's what he has. So he's someone that right now, unfortunately, is kind of shining a light on that. So that's probably one of the few dementias that you're really familiar with, aside from Alzheimer's, because of him. And so that brings me into what is Alzheimer's. So I'm sure most people here, actually, let me ask this really quick. Does anyone in the room right now know someone that's affected by Alzheimer's? If you can raise your hand. Okay. So we're all pretty much familiar with what Alzheimer's is, right? So pretty much what happens is this disease is taking away our memory and thinking and behavior as we get older. All of us in this room has a connection. We've seen it. We understand what it looks like, right? And unfortunately, this means that we see loved ones suffer. I was very young when my grandfather had dementia. I was in college at the time. I was 19. So I didn't get to see it every day, but then when I would go back home, I started to see the flashes of it. I saw a very strong person became a very confused person and not understand, who his family members were and why we were basically keeping him hostage. And so he constantly tried to escape because he thought, you guys are not allowing me to work anymore. And we're like, you're retired, you're not working anymore. So I got to see flashes of it. And my mom was his main caretaker. So she had to go through that every day and wonder, how do I take care of someone who is physically he's fine, but mentally every day he's a different person, and how do you navigate through that on a daily basis? So in the early stage, it's memory loss. Unfortunately, as time goes on, our brain is such a powerful tool. We still don't know a lot about our brain, but what happens is your brain is controlling everything. So over time, you're basically losing functions to your body. You can't remember to eat, drink. Simple things like that over time, unfortunately, is what those individuals experience. So the populations that are at higher risk of dementia are populations that are really high, not just in South Florida, but in Broward County. So we are seeing that Black Americans are twice as likely as white Americans to have Alzheimer's. Hispanic Americans are 1.5 times likely to have the disease. And then almost 2/3 of women in America are more likely to have the disease. That is most of us in this room right now. And if you look at it that way, that is very alarming. And it means that we need to really work together to figure out how can we stop this disease, because the future doesn't look bright. But it also means that these are the people that are in our community every day doing the hard work. They're taking care of their families. They're working 2-3 jobs at a time. So imagine when they get Alzheimer's. It's even more devastating for their families. So I wanted to also share the impact of caregiving. So I mentioned my mom was my grandfather's main caregiver, and what is really not accounted for is the amount of time that you spend really dedicated to this as a caregiver, because my mom at the time had my sister who was 14 and my grandfather who was with dementia, and she worked full-time at a hospital. So my mom could not fully be engaged with her job, because how do you take care of someone who has dementia? You also have a 14-year-old child. You have a child in college. It's a lot to manage. And so what we do not really showcase a lot is that these caregivers are giving so much effort into taking care of their families, right? And so what we've done a study, and we've realized that for caregivers, they provide more than 18 billion hours of unpaid care, and that's valued at $347 billion. So if you think about it, if my mom, right, has, a 14-year-old and my grandfather at home, she has to find someone to take care of my grandfather, right? Or dropping off at like a center, a daycare center, or whatever the case may be. Or eventually move him into a center if that's needed. But then every time she calls out from work, that is money that's costing her, right? Every time she has to take him to the doctor's appointment. Whenever my grandfather decides he's going to escape and, go somewhere, that is time that, we're out looking for my grandfather, worried, checking hospitals. That time equals to dollars. And unfortunately for caregivers, it's a 24-hour job. They don't get any rest with that because of the fact that you just don't know what's going to happen on a daily basis. So we wanted to really highlight the fact that caregivers are going through a lot when they have someone with Alzheimer's and dementia, because every day is a different day and they're adjusting. And unfortunately means that they're not 100% focused at work or school, and they're trying to figure out, how do I help my family member? So the importance of early detection is really the key point that we're showcasing at the Alzheimer's Association. A couple things that I'm just gonna touch on for you to just, one, for yourself, but for your family members, because this is not just about, well, what if I get dementia? It's like, what about families and friends, and making sure that we're seeing the signs. So pay attention to any changes in memory. Forgetting your keys is not what I'm talking about, because I forget my keys on a daily basis, because that's me. But, if your family member, if you realize they're very sharp, and all of a sudden, certain things they're just not remembering, or they keep repeating certain things, not saying that they have dementia, but it's something to pay attention to. Make sure that if you see the changes that are unusual, you're taking action. Just making sure you're paying attention, but speaking with a doctor. I am not a doctor, so I am not the person to come to and ask. I will tell you, my cousin's currently going through this with her mom. Her mom has some early stages. She has some memory issues. And whenever her mom goes to the doctor, because her mom goes to the doctor by herself, the doctor is like, she's fine. And my cousin's like, I know she's not fine because certain things have happened. So I have communicated with my cousin. Go to the doctor's appointment, have the doctor's appointment a little bit later in the day, not first thing in the morning, right? But paying attention to those things, but being active. Because, my mom's cousin going to the doctor by herself is not really a great option to say, yes, you have Alzheimer's, dementia. My cousin sees the things that are happening. And so now it's like, let's be an active participant in the doctor visits, and making sure that you're communicating what you've seen and what has happened, and making sure you're having that conversation with the doctor compared to your loved one having the conversation with the doctor. There's also just a number of benefits to early detection. Plan for the future, explore treatment options, participate in clinical studies. It's really just taking an active role. I know we all live really busy lives, right? And so this is why paying attention to certain signs, taking an active role in doctor visits, it helps, right? Because then, one, it probably helps with communicating to your loved one a little bit more, but you're also understanding the process and what the next steps should be. So treatments for Alzheimer's. So currently right now, we do not have a cure. This is what we are working on at the Alzheimer's Association. We are trying to invest into research to figure out how we can cure this disease so we can go from 7 million to 0 people with Alzheimer's. There are treatments that change the disease progression. So there are some drugs and non-drug options that are out there. Do keep in mind, everybody is different. Our bodies are different. So we can't expect, what one treatment may work for me may not work for someone else. Also, it's an active conversation with your doctor to make sure that, you're kind of exploring all the treatment options for your family member. So at the Alzheimer's Association, we truly promote the 10 healthy habits for your brain, because we can actively work on this right now. So the first one says stay in school. It doesn't mean that you need to go to a class every day, but listen, we're all in the virtual world, so we can take classes and courses, so you don't have to really truly sign up for a class. So for example, I know there's a website called Upskills. I've done it where I'm learning about social media. So if there's something that you want to explore, it's keeping your brain active. And especially when you think about your loved ones that are retired, remember, from 9 to 5, they're active every day. Their brain was going, and then all of a sudden it stops. So that brain activity is no longer there. So taking fun courses, whether it's like a cooking class or whatever the case may be, but keeping your brain engaged is very helpful. Challenging your mind, get moving. So taking those walks, playing pickleball, because I heard that's the new fun thing to do now. Eating right, maintaining healthy weight, controlling your blood pressure, manage diabetes, protecting your head. So when you're out riding your bike, scooters, wearing a helmet, getting the sleep, which is very important. As we get older, we do need to make sure that we're getting the right amount of sleep so we can be productive people during the day. And then be smoke-free, no vaping, no smoking. It really does make a big difference. So those are the 10 healthy habits that we consistently promote. So how can we help? So Bruce mentioned our helpline. Like I said, Terry and I will be at the table. We have information. But this helpline, 24/7, 365, multiple languages. So if you are, if your loved one's going through a rough time at 2 a.m., you can call us. If you need resources, if you're trying to figure out what's the next step for my loved one, my family, what do we need to do? You have no idea where to turn, the helpline is your guiding light. You can call it any time in the day. There's always someone there to answer. If you speak another language, or, it doesn't have to be Spanish, it could be Creole, anything else, you can call that number and we'll be there to help. So that's one of our main tools, and it's immediate assistance right now. We have free education and support at alz.org, so Bruce touched on that a little bit earlier too. Our website is full of information, and so it's, sometimes you have to kind of figure out what information do I need, but if you don't want to go to the site, you can also go to the helpline. And then we have the walk. So I organized the walk event here in Broward County, and so the walk is going to be on Saturday, December 6th at Nova Southeastern University. The Rotary team is already signed up. Thank you, Bruce. And Bruce signed up LifePoint Church also, so we have teams already registered for the walk. But if you want to start your own team, feel free. You can scan the QR code or come and see Terry and I afterwards. We're happy to share more information. But the walk is really a great opportunity, one, to realize that there are other people in the community that may be going through what you're going through, and you can see how impactful it is, but also understand, wow, our community is coming together to make a difference. And this is really an awareness opportunity for us too, because most likely when a family has a loved one diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the first thing they do is the walk. And then we get to introduce them to all the wonderful resources and programs and services that we have at the organization. So it's a great way to rally your family and friends to get involved. And so I'm going to end our conversation today with the quote from our founding president of the Alzheimer's Association that says, "Do things here and now, not after you're gone. If you have some money, share it. And if you have some time, do something worthwhile." It does make a difference, especially in this climate that we're in. Helping each other is what is going to make a difference.
If you are in Sunrise, Florida, please visit our club. You can find the meeting times on our club website. I have a video on the history of Rotary and my personal goals in joining Rotary. What is Rotary? We have a short video that we downloaded from the Rotary International website that explains the many goals of Rotary International.